and welcome to this episode of Focus On with me, Kyamkhetso Mosipile. Energy is a fundamental component to the modern industrial economy, and yet 43% of Africans, or about 600 million people, lack access to electricity. This is according to the International Energy Agency. This episode of Focus On explores the Namibian energy sector through the Namibia International Energy Conference, unpacking how the southern African country can use energy as a catalyst for economic prosperity. For more on this conversation, I am joined by Paulo Gomez, chairman at the Orango Investment Corporation and former World Bank executive director. And a little later on, I also speak to NJ Ayuk. He is the executive chairman for the African Energy Chamber and strategic partner for NIEC 2024. But without further ado, let's chat to Mr. Gomez. Thank you, sir, so much for joining us and welcome to the show. I'd like to begin with your experience across the public and private sectors, focusing on sustainable development within Africa. In your opinion, what is the possible value that is tied with using energy as a possible catalyst for economic prosperity in Africa?
I think energy is key. I think everything has been mapped out in terms of policy or that Africa need energy. I mean, there's many initiatives that has been launched in the last 10 years. There seems to be a focus on renewable energy, but I think to be honest, we need to have a kind of energy mix where we have renewable energy, but also energy that come from oil and gas to help us do the transition. We still have million and million of people without energy, and we need energy for structural transformation because the issue of industrialization is still key. So I think all those reasons and combined oblige us to focus for the next few years on implementation and delivery. We still have challenges in terms of preparing project in a fast-tracked manner. But I think the conditions are much more favorable today to help Africa address the issue of energy.
And I'd also like to touch on the energy mix that you've mentioned, which recommends using a collaboration between renewable energies as well as fossil fuels. What are your thoughts, particularly within Namibia's perspective or context, on using valuable oil discoveries in a manner that can not only benefit the country, but the entire continent as a whole?
Yes, I think there is sometimes a little bit of exaggeration in terms of the curse of energy and oil and gas. I think resources, basically the key issue is that what you do with it. And I think there seems to be much more, I would say, commitment from many African countries about the need to use energy, oil and gas, as a leverage to help you build the minimum infrastructure base you need in the country and also prepare you for, industry. And I think Namibia has spent some time, I think, on the consultation. And also when you see how they have organized the dialogue with oil major, it seemed to me that there is, I would say, an internalized process to make sure that oil and gas will be a driver of the next few year transformation of the country, but in a way that is sustainable. And I think it's the right way to go. You need to incorporate the issue of local content, but also do some financial engineering to help develop the financial market. Because at the end of the day, for Africa, the key is capital formation using our domestic financial system through pension funds and insurance. Because this is what gives you really the strong foundation for equity you need for your development. You cannot think that you will transform your country only with debt. Equity is key, but equity has to start also with the effort of capital formation inside, domestically in the country. And I think oil can help do that, to strengthen that process.
Now, it is estimated that oil production in the country is set to start as early as 2030, which is not a long time away from now. Taking into account some of the other oil reserves across the continent, as well as some of the international interests that are eager to capitalize on the recent oil and gas discoveries within Namibia, what are some of your recommendations on regulatory frameworks or policies that are needed to ensure that fair and sustainable development happens within oil trade?
Well, first, you know that when you go through the whole value, the process, is exploration, and then you have development, and then you have operation, and then the commissioning of the oil and gas platforms. I think on this first phase, it seemed to me that what I have discussed with many people here is that there's an intention to have the local content in place. But the local content is also about upgrading companies, domestic companies, small and medium enterprise. It's about providing information and also access to finance. And that process of access to finance for local content, for local Namibian company, will require combining efforts that will be made within the commercial bank system, but also create some, I would say, dedicated institution that could help finance the local companies in the process of local content. But again, it's not just an issue of capital. I think before even the local content law is completely agreed, I think there's space here to help upgrade Namibian company, create a system for a better access to finance, so to get them ready in order to be, to meet the standard, because these contractors and big oil company have also with them an whole arsenal of standards that sometimes is very difficult for companies, domestic companies, local content companies to meet. So I think all this process of arranging specific resources for local content company, but also to create an whole ecosystem of access to information, upgrading capacity, that I think by the time you move out from the exploration phase and you get into development, you will have a whole package of Namibian company ready to take advantage of the local content.
Certainly a complex conversation on how Namibia can balance its opportunity and risk within its developing energy sector. And that unfortunately brings my conversation with you, sir, to a close. Thank you to Paulo Gomez, Chairman at Orango Investment Corporation and former World Bank Executive Director. Now, continuing on with this energy conversation, earlier on, I did speak to NJ Ayuk, Executive Chairman for the African Energy Chamber, as well as Strategic Partner on NIEC 2024, asking him on some of his insights about the state of Namibia's energy infrastructure. Let's listen in on what he had to say.
It's huge. There's going to be a lot of need to build energy infrastructure. You're going to see between $2 to $3 billion of investment. My conversation with the minister today and some of the energy companies, we've seen that in Luderitz and across Walvis Bay, there's going to be a lot of energy infrastructure that needs to be built so that you could either pipe gas, you could also explore offshore, but also be able to really bring this production into reality. But what does that mean to everyday people? What that means is that there is massive opportunity for them to get jobs. There's massive opportunity for small businesses and multiplier jobs. But there's also massive opportunity for international investors to look at that energy infrastructure, which there is a ready off-taker. But big thing also, there is a massive opportunity to deal with Namibia's energy security, as well as regional energy security, which involves South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and even Angola.
I like that you've touched on Southern Africa's energy landscape and the role that Namibia could possibly play in bolstering growth and access to energy in that space. What would you say are some of the improvements that are needed to spur and leverage this growth that you're talking about?
Intergovernmental collaboration needs to be driven quickly. but they also need to incentivize those energy producers that are putting a lot of money in there. Some of the agreements have to be done fast. There's current discussion between Namibia and South Africa on getting intergovernmental agreements so that gas coming out of Kudu gas in Namibia could go into South Africa, deal with South Africa's load shedding and energy security, but also going into pipelines going into Zambia. So we need to be able to move fast. We need to approve these projects because it shouldn't take so long to approve a project and the time you need to build that project. And I think this place is really driving those discussions and making sure that that happens. But there is a core message here is that it's time to move, it's time to let the markets work, and the projects are bankable and we can actually achieve it.
And I'd also like to touch on the role of private sector, private-public partnerships within this space, just to touch on that governance framework that you're speaking of that will allow for regional trade or intra-African trade within the space.
Well, intra-African trade is going to be key. We have the Africa Continental Free Trade Act. It's there for something. We need to action it. Now we're looking at how you're going to have natural gas in this country, one of the largest ever found in the world, the second largest hotspot for energy discoveries. So you have an amazing opportunity that this small country can become the driver of supply-side economics across Africa, getting Namibian gas across Africa to deal with energy poverty. Don't you forget, we still have 600 million people in this continent without access to electricity, 900 million without access to clean cooking technologies, most of them women. And so this is an amazing opportunity that we can put action towards and really make sure that that happens. And that collective effort is what you feel here at this place because there's enthusiasm, there is capital, but also we also have to deal with issues around climate change and ensure that we deal with energy poverty, energy security, and climate change because they're three sides of the same coin.
And just lastly, I'd also like to ask, what is your opinion or advice to investors that are interested in participating in Namibia's energy sector?
Namibia has been blessed with one of the great good governance, open markets, but also an ability to face some of the best rankings when it comes to doing business and being able to invest, fast-tracking a lot of investment projects in the country. I think Namibia has that solid record of strong institutions, good processes, and also good leadership. That is a plus because whenever we instill those limited government and low taxes and right incentives, money flows in. But also, what is also important, it's people. That's why we're discussing local content, empowering Namibians, grabbing opportunities so that they can be true drivers of what is coming, an era of abundance and an era of dominance. And once we have that, then you're really going to see a lot more investment coming in. There is going to be more coming in, not just in oil or natural gas, but infrastructure. This is also an amazing opportunity for African entrepreneurs to participate and not just let the game be a game of Western entrepreneurs participating while Africans are still behind. Let's seize the opportunity to really drive it up in Namibia.
And that brings today's conversation to a close. I'd like to thank my guests, Paulo Gomez, Chairman at Orango Investment Corporation, as well as former World Bank Executive Director, as well as NJ Ayuk, Executive Chairman for the African Energy Chamber and Strategic Partner for NIEC 2024. And from me, it's goodbye for now.